Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be for the 7 of you who are still into Helium. I'm going to be talking about Helium Mobile today. I'm going to go over why your rewards have changed so much. If any of you guys have not checked, make sure you're checking that wallet out and see if you got either a nice little surprise or a pretty massive decrease, right? We're going to talk about what's going on, why that happened, and why it's going to continue to happen over the next few months, right? A lot of big changes that we've been talking about. The first one did come into effect. We're going to talk about it, right? We're going to talk about why and what to look forward to, right? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned. Let's get to this thing. So we'll go over the prices first real quick. And so far, they've been holding up, right? So Helium Mobile is still staying in that 0.003 range. It's been holding up quite well. After we had that massive pump in December, it did retrace, but it's been hovering here, right? This was kind of a concern of mine, like, oh, are we going to retrace back down to these crazy low levels? So far, we've been holding up. We'll see if it continues or not, but so far, things are looking good there. Helium has also been doing fairly well. Been dipping a little bit harder. It's anywhere from $7 to $9 most recently. Even after today's massive dip, after we hit that all-time high with BTC, still holding up pretty well, right? So things are looking good in that department. As far as my personal miners, we'll go over just one of them, which is the main guy. The other guy doesn't necessarily make as much. So this is an outdoor Wi-Fi. We can see here that mine was one of those that did increase a good amount, right? So mine increased 28%, which is about the average if you did go up. If you did go down, you went down pretty massively, right? And it's because of HIP 103. Okay, we're going to talk about that here in a second. Another thing to know, prior to this change here, the reason that most of your guys' rewards have been going down consistently is just because of the way it works, right? As more antennas and radios go up, the rewards are just going to go down, right? Which is something we expected from the beginning. That's why with any of these DPIN projects, they all work fairly similar in that sense. It's all coming from that same pot. So the people who have the biggest advantage are the people who come on in first, right? So that's why I was kind of big initially on like trying to get the word out that if you got in, you made your ROI back within less than a month, right? And in many cases, even faster. Like me, I do have 2 outdoor Wi-Fis and an indoor, and they have worked out extremely, extremely well. And we'll see how it continues. That was kind of the expectation, though, that it would do well. It did go down a good amount, though. Like, for example, this guy started at about 9,500 mobile a day. Now, currently, prior to this little pump here, was down to like about 3,600 yesterday, right? So it was a pretty big drop, and it's just because of the amount of radios that have been coming online. But with this nice little pump, it did go up a little bit, but this is gonna go back down, right? We're gonna talk about why and the big changes that are coming, right? So the first big one did take effect already, and this is regarding HIP 103. So this is why I know a lot of you guys have been asking if I recommend getting one, and the reason I've been saying to wait is because of this HIP. This HIP is gonna change things massively. Not going to read through the whole thing. Essentially, what it's doing, the goal of it is to start funneling the rewards, and not necessarily just the rewards, but the coverage into those urban areas. So that's what I've been saying, in those urban, city, downtown areas where there's going to be a lot of people who will most likely utilize the network. That's where they want coverage. So that's where the rewards are going to be funneled to. So this HIP, future HIPs, other HIPs, we've been saying that this is the direction they want to go in, right? It's definitely to cover these areas, and it's definitely also to do it with Wi-Fi. So even though 101 didn't pass, do not be surprised to see future HIPs trying to shift more of their rewards and the coverage to Wi-Fi to try to incentivize that, to try to get that coverage up as quickly as possible, right? So again, they have made their position very clear where the growth is going to be, and that's just where the rewards are going to be, and that's where things are going to shift to. So I know some of you guys have been asking, and even I've been super intrigued on thinking about getting like a 436, just because it's like a freaking 100,000 tokens a day. But it's just, there's a lot of things changing, right? So we got to really wait to see for these new HIPs, and this is going to be one constant with Helium Mobile, is that it's going to be constant change, right? So do not be surprised, because they're constantly growing, they're constantly learning, and they're keeping up with the trends. I know a lot of people have been complaining like, oh man, I wish that And I get it, right? Like I explained in these other videos with that cut with the CBRS and some people like earning less and such. I get it, right? And even with this one, right? We're going to talk about, if we're getting kind of off track. Let's go right to this thing. All right. So pretty much, again, it's going to urban areas. 3 oracles are taking place. The first one did take effect already. So the 3 oracles are the Footfall Oracle. So incentivize deployments in areas that have heavy footfall traffic. So think heavy foot traffic, right? Think of like bars, downtown areas, restaurants, things of that sort where people are going to be potentially somewhat stationary, most likely be on their phone, right? That's going to be the oracle, which is going to take effect. I believe that one's next month. That one's going to be the biggest changer. The next type is the land type oracle, and this one discourages deployments that cover empty fields and bodies of water. So think of if you have one in the middle of the forest, or there's some that are freaking literally facing bodies of water, right? If you guys have like messed with going through the planner and stuff, you've seen some of the top burners and they are in like middle of the nowhere locations, right? And that's part of the reason we did get an increase, right? It wasn't specific because of that oracle. That oracle hasn't taken effect yet. It's actually because of this one. The Urbanization Oracle encourages deployments in urbanized areas. So this is the one that did take effect now, and it did affect those people who are in not so urban places, right? So this is kind of the first of the 3. Again, the big one's going to be next month. I'll put links to the maps in the description, but realistically, it already kind of took effect. So pretty much here, this is my area. I'm in the Tampa Bay area. So you can see all that's highlighted. This is based off of census data, which is the map they're using. And it's more urban areas. So you can see all the gray here. It's more in the city. If you're out in the boonies, out in the forest, a lot of this is forest area though, like legitimate forest area. So that's why a lot of it's there. But again, if you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere or you're in a location that just doesn't have much, this is why our rewards went up, right? They got shifted from those people. They got hit extremely hard with this oracle and it shifted it to those people in urban areas, right? So this was the first big change and why we saw that increase, right? The problem now, though, is this next one. And this next one is the Footfall one. So this one is going to highly, highly incentivize those who are in true urban areas. Okay, so I will put a link to this map because this is realistically the more important one. And this is why, realistically, it's going to be kind of impossible to really calculate what your rewards are going to be now because there are a ton of variables. Okay, it's going to get extremely complicated trying to figure that out. Because you can see here, as soon as you start zooming into any of these areas, you're only going to get full points, so that full multiplier for that individual hex that you are covering that's in your field, right? So just because you have your antenna, let's say here, right, you're not going to get the full points for any of these empty hexes. You're only going to get the full points on the hexes that you're covering that are yellow. Okay, so this is where it's going to get tricky. So if you're in a pure residential area with 0 businesses, 0 parks around you, like for example, if you lived here, right, which potentially is all residential area, right, or let's say you were right in the middle here, right, this map's a little laggy, but let's say you're here and you only covered this area here, you're not going to get any hexes that are in that area. So for example, with me, for example, I do have 2 outdoors, one facing in each opposite direction. There are 2 yellow hexes on each one, but again, I'm only going to get the full points for those 2 little hexes out of all the hexes that it covers, right? Where it's going to get the full points. Realistically, they ideally want it like down here, right? You could see downtown area, like to be right smack in the middle here. Have a big Wi-Fi, have like 2 of them, right? To cover all this area. This is what they want to incentivize greatly. And these are also the areas that are going to potentially eventually one day be boosted as they switch to different locations, right? But realistically, this is what they want. So this is where it gets tricky, right? So like when you're trying to calculate it, it gets extremely complicated. Okay, so this first one's pretty basic, right? The map is pretty easy to read. It's pretty easy because it's just like solid gray chunks. Okay, so again, the Tampa area, you can see pretty much the city area, even like the suburbs, all that, it's all grayed out. So it's pretty easy, and it did get rid of a lot of the people who are in the middle of nowhere, or again, had it pointing towards a freaking body of water. It did get rid of all that and started funneling it to, again, in this first case, the urban areas. Now though, this next one, we can try to make a little bit of sense of it. So we can see the first one here, which was the urbanization oracle. The next one is going to be the footfall oracle. Okay, and again, this is the big one because you're only going to get the full coverage for those hexes that are fully yellow, right? You may cover a bunch, like for example, mine covers 667, right? But out of those 667, it's only a couple that are going to get covered where I'm going to get the full coverage, right? The rest, it's going to be no POI. Okay, so if we look at this little calculator, when it takes effect in about 30 days, so give or take that first week of April is when these two will be in effect, right? The first one's in effect, the next one's in effect, right? So we can kind of make sense of it. The first one, if you're in an urban area, you got the full multiplier. If you're not in an urban area, you got the B, you got a 0.25x, right? Which is a pretty massive decrease, okay? Outside of the USA, it was for the people who are trying to like skate the system or in Canada or somewhere else, and they were trying to like game it, right? So I got rid of all that. Now, the next one, okay? You either got the POI is when you look at this map. Let's go back to it. If you look at each individual thing, you can see the POI is there, right? Which is that third little tab on the bottom. You can see how many, and you want to have obviously at least one, okay? If you have 0, you fall into the second one, and if you have none, like if you're in this area here, I believe that's, from what I'm getting from it, I will be into the C category, right? Which is just 0, right? Because it's not yellow at all whatsoever. So like for example with mine, okay, mine will be under the no POI. Okay, so if that's the case, my best case scenario, right, if I get CA, right, C because I have no POI, A because I am in an urban area, my multiplier will be 0.4x, right? So I would get 40% of what it is now, right? It's a little under half, okay? Pretty big chunk. So does that mean I'm gonna get that amount? Probably not. Reason I'm saying that is a lot of the others are going to get hit even harder. A lot of the people are, especially after all 3 oracles are there, they're going to get hit hard. So all the money that was there is going to go back into that pool and then redistributed, right? So the people who are getting full points, they're going to be eating extremely well, right? But again, even if you're getting hit hard, we'll probably still end up okay, right? But again, even realistically, I'm going to factor in as I am going to get 40% of what I'm getting now, and I'm still fine with that, right? Because even as it is right now, it's still between the 3 of them making over like $25 a day, right? So again, even if I go down a half, even if I'm making $10, $8, if you're not making freaking $3, like again, they already paid themselves off long ago, 0 maintenance, 0 electric, to providing coverage, right? Even it's been nice for me going out, being able to be in the backyard, mowing the yard, and not have to freaking, because my cell phone reception here truly does suck, right? So it actually does help in that department for me. So for example, when I'm listening to podcasts or YouTube streams while I'm mowing the lawn, I can actually have full coverage, right? So for me alone, those kinds of things are worth it, but factor that in that it is going to change pretty drastically, right? So if I'm interpreting right and I'm under the no POI, to me the POI, from what they were saying in the Discord, the POI no data means you had a yellow hex, but it's just no data to that hex, right? So my understanding, those hexes that are empty, essentially, it's going to be C. So for me, best case scenario, after this one, it'll be 0.4. Okay, so you have to really see what happens. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be that small, just because, again, this is going to affect everybody. And I guarantee you, a lot of people's hexes are not going to be in this full multiplier or potentially even in this next one, right? So it's going to be a massive redistribution after this next one. So now the last one is going to be the land type, right? So the land type, the 3 different types are built up. So urban area, right? That's not full of tree. Well, let's just go to the next one because it'll make more sense. The next one being assignment B, which will be like tree cover, shrubland, grassland. So think farms, forests, things of that sense or that sort. And then C will be bare/sparse, cropland, snow, ice, water, wetlands. So just pure forest area, right? So reality B, kind of in between. It's going to be kind of almost hard to see. Maybe if you're closer to an urban area, you'd be under B. That would maybe the difference between B and C. Who knows? But for example, for me, my footfall is going to be under the C category. So again, the best I can do with beginning with the C is going to be the 0.4, right? So even if I am built up and I go under the A and I am urban and I get A, the best I will be able to do is the CAA, which is the 0.4x. Okay, so we shall see. This is why reality, just because of the amount of hexes that are there, the amount of variables that are there, if you haven't done it, you're kind of on the fence and you're not in the middle of like downtown, living in a high rise or something of that sort, you may want to wait. Or if you have, a business downtown, or somebody who owns a business, or a lot of people, this is a business for them. They're literally going down, make little business cards, kind of, hey, can I mount this in your establishment, blah, 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 and rack in that dough. Like if you do that in Miami right now with those boosted locations, massive potential for any guys who are in that area down there, right? But again, just expect your rewards to change pretty drastically. Again, yes, it is that multiplier, but again, a lot of others are also going to get affected by that. So you may, even though the multiplier is down there, it's still, you may be getting half or maybe a little bit more than half. Who knows, right? In reality, it's not even worthwhile calculating for me at this point. I'm just stacking, and whatever it gets, it gets. Again, it's something that's, I don't do anything for it. Literally no maintenance, no nothing. It's just doing its thing, and it's earning, and it's providing coverage, right? Even for me, just here at my house, it benefits me personally being outside. Like, I do have a pretty big backyard, so for me to be all the way out there, not have to worry about that. I could run down the block and still get freaking coverage, right? And also from being early, I don't have to worry about a ROI or making that return because it's already made so much, right? Between the three, right? The majority being from that one though, right? The one that I showed you guys, that's been the biggest earner, because even the other outdoor Wi-Fi, because of the hexes it covers facing the other direction, it only covers about half of those hexes. So therefore earns about half the rewards, right? Realistically, it's still worth it though. Still doing its thing. Collectively, between the three units, it's made about 574,000 mobile, which in the current value right now, again, which is half of the little all-time high we had in December, it's still almost like $2,000, right? And again, that's for a total of investment of $1,200, 500 each for the outdoors, and then $200 or $250, I think it is, for the little indoor unit, right? So again, for me, perfectly fine, even if it goes down again to making freaking $4. $4 in the bear market, that's pretty freaking good, considering, for example, for any GPU miners, a 4090 makes about $2 a day currently, right? That's a $2,000 GPU. Okay, so I know it's not a ton, but this is bear market crypto. Even if you're not into Helium, not into Helium Mobile, swap it out for another one, which is partially what I've been doing. I've been stacking up some of my other coins that I've been wanting to with some of these coins here, right? So different things to think about. But again, if you've been on the fence, expect these changes to happen, expect these changes to continue even after these three are implemented. Again, they've pretty much set the course that they want to focus on Wi-Fi, and that's where the focus will be. Okay, so even if you are in a good area, you're thinking about getting a CBRS radio, just don't be surprised that in 3 months from now, another HIP gets voted on and Nova does decide to vote on it. That shifts a lot of the rewards again from CBRS to Wi-Fi, just like 101 was going to do. Don't be surprised to see another one, okay? Because that is 100% where the hype is. That's 100% where the use case is, right? The reason being is just the CBRSs currently aren't usable in their current form currently. Hopefully they will be in the future, but currently for them to grow, for them to get these, carrier deals, it's gonna be with Wi-Fi, right? So we'll see how it goes. Just continue stacking. At the end of the day, if you jumped in, might as well hang on to it. Again, as these other places become extremely valuable though, right? Let's say mobile does take off more and those areas are extremely incentivized, guess what? Your unit is gonna be worth more also. Okay, so just factor that in also. There is some benefit to having one, okay? So it's up to you. You guys do your own thing. I know a lot of people didn't like it. For me, it's already worked out incredibly. Again, even if the rewards go down to freaking $2 a day, I am more than happy, right? So we'll see how it goes. Let me know what you guys think. Have you guys gotten yours? I know some of you guys got it in the last few batches. I know some of you guys are in freaking those boosted areas making stupid freaking money. Let me know how those are doing, guys. Let me know what you guys think. I know a lot of you guys are big fans, but again, this the easy money, right? It all depends on what you're into, what you're doing. But for me, it's been great, right? No other way to put it. All right, guys, let me know in the comments. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, guys, and I am out.